My team and I have analyzed, we spent like 15,000 hours analyzing these communication patterns, structures, we call them formats, and we've identified over 500 of them. So there's so many to choose from. But why I think that humans are predictable in nature is a lot of, like, first off, like telling stories. The first story ever told was 50,000 years ago around a campfire. Now, stories started out as a way to, they weren't fairy tales, they're all about survival, what to fear, how to hunt, how to protect each other, things of that nature. And these stories and structures have built everything that we see around us today. It's ingrained in our DNA to connect with a structure that has, a beginning, middle, and an end to it, that has, tension and release of tension, up and down, and things of that nature. So to your original point, like virality is not anybody can do it. Well, if you follow the patterns, if you follow human behavior, human history, and you use these patterns and structures of how you communicate to your advantage, it increases your chances of breaking through by 100x.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So at the heart of this is stories. We're both big believers in story and the power of storytelling. Let's tell people a story. Okay. We're telling people philosophy right now and observations, but not necessarily story. One thing that I've discovered recently during one of our events here in this space was a prompt that somebody gave us, Ms. Michelle, and he said, "How did you get here?" That's the end of the story, and that's how I got here. So I'm going to give you some time to think about it, and then I'm going to tell the story. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'll start first, and then you say, "That's how I got here."
Okay.
That's the end of the story, okay? So people stress out a little bit because they don't know where the story ends, and so they meander, they go all over the place, and it becomes not so interesting. But if you know how the story ends, then it's easier. So here's how I got here. People don't know this, but I'm in the building next door. It's 5,000 square feet. And shortly after acquiring that space, business is going like gangbusters, so we're outgrowing the space. So much so that we're running Ethernet cables down the hallway, and we're constantly tripping the breaker because we're using so many machines and it's hot in that space. And all of a sudden one day I'm walking outside and I see there's a sign on this building that we're in, and it says "for sale." So my wife immediately jumped on it and said, "We have to acquire this building. We're outgrowing that space. We need to get this." And I was like, okay, sounds good. And this was a space where they parked W.I. Simonson's Mercedes, their cars, like to be detailed and then brought over to their main showroom on Wilshire. And so we get into a bidding war to acquire this space. And my wife, just being super emotional, just overbids on this building by $500,000. I'm like, "Babe, let me do that part." And she's like, "I know you need it. I know you're going to try to like do it the bare amount, but I promise you I'm doing this to protect you so you will not be heartbroken." Lo and behold, we have this space. We spend a year renovating it, $1 million plus to renovate it, and we eventually move in. But this is 2007. So we moved from that space into this space. There's not that many of us for a space of this size. This space is about 13,000 square feet. So we a little bit more than doubled the square footage of what we needed. And it felt vast versus over there was like tight and high energy. Here it's like really big. And then the financial meltdown happens in 2008. And I think to myself, I think we bought this at the height of the market, and now we're paying for it all the way down. We have obviously survived. And there are sometimes, I think, residual memories where I have nightmares about acquiring a space that I have to then sell at a massive loss. And so that little emotion that I have continues to haunt me from time to time in my dreams. And that's how I wound up here.
Okay, so here's how I got here.
Okay, before you do that, any breakdown, any thoughts and reflections of that story?
So I think that starting, the hook needs to be stronger. So you have the hook in it. It's something along the lines of the biggest financial decision I've ever made in my life happened days before one of the biggest financial meltdowns in American history.
The contrast.
Yeah, the contrast. Okay. And the weight of it.
Yeah.
You know, the like, oh my God, like you made this massive financial decision and then America melts down.
Yeah. So after hearing the story, you can write the headline, the hook to draw people in.
I think that's always a great way to do it is what is the story you want to, well, I would even take a step back further
Okay.
is